What if you woke up in a world where magic was real, but your only weapon was a shovel and a degree in civil engineering? This is a land governed by noble titles and ancient swords, but the rules are about to change. Back on Earth, I was Suho Kim, just a student trying to survive his classes. I didn't have much, but I had knowledge. Knowledge that shouldn't exist here. But in this reality, my name is Lloyd Frontera, and this is the story of how a common student rebuilt a failing estate from the ground up. It starts with a vision, a blueprint of the future overlaid on a primitive present, a grid system that only I can see, mapping out possibilities that no knight or wizard could ever fathom. I'm going to turn this entire world upside down, using nothing but the laws of physics and a bit of grit. Where others see a landscape, I see a city of steel and glass waiting to be born. The scale of my ambition is massive, but first I have to deal with the man standing right behind me, Javier, the legendary knight who is supposed to be the hero of this story. He thinks I've lost my mind, but I'm looking at something better than glory. I'm looking at cold, hard cash. To understand how I got here, we have to go back to the beginning. A few years ago, my life was completely different. I was just another guy in a cramped apartment. Then a strange system message appeared, a random wish granted by something called the Absolute. I didn't think much of it until the congratulatory bells started ringing in my head. I woke up face down in the dirt, drooling and confused, with a blue screen staring back at me. The message was clear. I was now a character in Knight of Blood and Iron, the novel I had just finished reading. I was no longer Suho Kim. I was inside the book, and the reality of the situation was starting to sink in. The system wished me luck with a cheerful pop, leaving me to figure out my new life in the middle of nowhere. It's a classic transmigration trope, but usually people wake up as a prince or a powerful mage. Me? I woke up face down on a freezing dirt road, miles away from any comfort. The cold was biting through my clothes, and my body felt like it had been through a blender. I tried to move, but everything hurt. And then there was my jaw. A health alert popped up, mocking me. Apparently, I had dislocated my jaw just by sleeping on the ground. The system's snarky tone was already starting to get on my nerves. I didn't need a laugh track for my pain. I took a moment to think. In the novel, the only person pathetic enough to pass out in the middle of the road was Lloyd Frontera, the eldest son of a local baron and the biggest loser in the entire story. A shadow loomed over me. Someone had been looking for this drunkard. The sound of heavy, disciplined footsteps approached. A real knight. He looked exactly as the book described him. Stoic, handsome, and incredibly dangerous.
This is Javier Azrahan, the actual protagonist of the novel. He's supposed to be a sword genius. He called me Lloyd, confirming my worst fears. I wasn't the hero. I was the hero's burden. In the original plot, Javier is a renowned swordsman who eventually saves the world. But right now, he's just an unknown knight serving a minor country lord. And that lord's eldest son is the man I've become, a spoiled brat who wastes his life on booze. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. Of all the characters to possess, why this hooligan? We stared at each other in the moonlight. Javier's silence was deafeningly judgmental. He didn't even have to say the word hooligan. It was written all over his face. At least I have some self-awareness. Javier seemed almost amused by my sudden moment of clarity. He led me back to the manor, a place that was supposed to be a symbol of power, but felt more like a tomb. Even inside, the hero was still acting like my servant, stoking the fire while I sat there uselessly. He asked if I remembered how I ended up in the dirt. I didn't, but he was happy to fill me in. Apparently, I started drinking in the afternoon, got trashed, and destroyed the furniture at the local pub. It's a typical Tuesday for the original Lloyd. Javier was sent to make sure the Baron's son didn't die in a ditch. The Baron still cares about his son, even if that son is a complete disaster. Javier doesn't pull his punches. He made sure to mention my dislocated jaw was a pathetic way to go.
The manor was freezing. This world doesn't have the underfloor heating systems I'm used to back home. Javier told me to rest, mentioning he'd report my latest drunken rampage to my father in the morning. I tried to talk him out of it, but he's as rigid as the steel he carries.
Before he left, I had to ask. I remembered something from the book that was far more important than a pub bill. The heavy clack of the door shutting left me alone with my thoughts and a very grim future. I know everything that happens in this story. I read the final chapter just last night. I was reading it in my tiny, cramped room, never imagining I'd be living it the next day. The story of Lloyd Frontera is a tragedy. His parents get scammed, lose everything, and take their own lives. Lloyd becomes a beggar, spending his last coins on cheap ale to forget the misery. In the end, he coughs up blood and dies alone. It's a miserable, pathetic ending. I stood up, refusing to accept that fate. What's the point of being an aristocrat if it leads to a gutter? I cursed the absolute who sent me here. If I wished for a new life, why put me in a body destined for ruin? The sun rose over the Frontera estate. It looked peaceful, but I knew the bankruptcy was already looming. The architecture was grand but old-fashioned. Beautiful, yes, but incredibly inefficient for heating. Then I met her, Marbella Frontera, Lloyd's mother. She looked exhausted, her eyes filled with disappointment. She had heard about the pub. I tried to lie and say I was just reading a book, but no one was buying it. She begged me to at least go and apologize. The guilt in her voice was harder to handle than Javier's insults. I realized I had to clean up the mess the original Lloyd made if I wanted to survive. My sudden agreement to apologize left them both speechless. They weren't used to me being reasonable. I stepped out into the village. It was a humble place, built with wood and stone, struggling against the elements. The villagers were hard at work, but the atmosphere shifted the moment I appeared. A man dropped his bundle of hay, his face pale with fear. They didn't see a noble, they saw a monster. Javier walked beside me, his presence the only thing keeping the peace. People were literally scrambling to get out of my way, hiding behind barrels as if I'd strike them for looking at me. I tried to act normal, but the weight of Lloyd's reputation was crushing. Women pulled their skirts away, and men dashed into doorways. It was a total social exile. I realized then that hooligan was an understatement. I was the most hated man in the barony. Even the children were warned about me. A small boy peeked out of a window, curious and terrified. His mother quickly pulled him back, shouting at him not to make eye contact. The slam of the shutters was a clear message. I was not welcome here. The system confirmed it with a helpful ding. The villagers absolutely detest you. Thanks, I noticed. I asked Javier why he was still following me. He said he was my escort, but we both knew the truth.
He wasn't protecting me from them. He was protecting them from me. I'm basically a gangster in their eyes. If I'm going to be a beggar later, I need these people to at least not throw stones at me. If I can fix the debt, I can live a sweet, comfortable life as a country heir. That's the dream. I checked my status. Surely the system gave me some kind of cheat code or powerful skill. It did. I have human scum as a passive skill and rowdy drunkard as an active one. What a joke. I waved my hands in frustration. These skills were useless for saving an estate from bankruptcy. Javier was staring at me again. He probably thought I was having another breakdown. He pointed out the pub. He thought I was trying to skip out on my apology. His eyes were cold, searching for any sign of a lie. He didn't trust a single word that came out of my mouth. I shouted back that I was just thinking. It's hard to plan a revolution when your bodyguard hates your guts. He dismissed it with a sigh and told me to just get it over with. I pushed open the heavy wooden door of the pub, the creak announcing my arrival like a death knell. Javier watched me closely. He could sense that something about me had shifted overnight. The interior was a disaster. Smashed chairs and broken tables littered the floor. I really did a number on this place. I even managed to crack the wall with a decorative skull. The original Lloyd was a menace. I bowed deeply, begging for forgiveness. I took full responsibility for the damage.
The owner was trembling, his hands up in a defensive posture. He was on extreme high alert. He was more terrified of my politeness than my rage. He probably thought I was setting him up for something worse. I tried to act a little ruder to calm him down, but the system just told me my apology wasn't genuine. I can't win. The poor man just wanted me to leave. He told me it was fine and that I didn't need to apologize. I felt like a total failure. Even when I tried to do the right thing, I'm still the villain. I walked back out into the bright afternoon sky, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. Javier walked beside me as we crossed the stone bridge. He told me the owner's reaction was expected. The furniture and decorations I broke were bought with that man's life savings. An apology doesn't pay the bills. I realized that brownie points were useless. I needed to solve the underlying problems of this village. Javier added that the owner's mother was sick from the winter cold. The pub was a drafty, miserable place. A single fireplace isn't enough to heat a stone building. It was a design flaw as old as time. The elderly can't survive that kind of cold. They need something better. They need ondol. I stopped in my tracks. The idea hit me with the force of a lightning bolt. My eyes widened. I wasn't just a student. I was a specialist in construction and infrastructure. A light bulb flickered to life in my mind, cutting through the fog of Lloyd's useless memories. It started as a small spark of inspiration, a connection between two worlds.
I had it, the solution to the pub owner's problem, and the key to my own survival. It was like a surge of electricity running through my brain. I could see the solution clearly. The jolt of realization was physical. I wasn't just Lloyd anymore. The light bulb went off, and suddenly, the path forward was illuminated. Technical data and architectural grids started zooming through my vision, mapping out the perfect heating system. There are no ondol floors in this world. If I built them, they will be the most sought-after luxury in the kingdom. The original Lloyd could never have dreamed of this. He didn't have the vision or the discipline. But the real me, Suho Kim, has exactly what it takes. My past life wasn't a waste. It was preparation. I majored in civil engineering. I spent my time in the army building houses with my own two hands. I've worked day and night on construction sites, hauling bricks and pouring concrete. This is it. With my knowledge of modern engineering, I can settle all of the Baron's debts and more. I spun around and started sprinting back toward the pub, leaving a confused Javier in my wake. I was going back to get my very first contract. My journey as the greatest estate developer was beginning. The system chimed again, sensing my change in resolve. My true journey had finally begun. A new feature activated, the RP system. Relationship points with key characters are now on the table. I'm starting at 0, but I'm not planning on staying there for long.
The world is about to find out that a shovel and a good plan can be more powerful than any sword.
RP? Is that like experience points for my new life? I need to figure out how this system actually works. Apparently, I earn it by improving relationships with key characters. In a world where everyone hates me, that's going to be a challenge. I decide to test it out on my bodyguard. A status window finally appears over Javier's head. -30? That's not just a bad rating. That's a he might leave me for dead rating. I need to fix this immediately. I try to be friendly, using the classic approach of a simple compliment. I tell him he's looking exceptionally handsome today, flashing my most convincing smile. The system notes I'm clearly trying to buy his favor, and it backfires instantly. My approval rating drops to -31. He's not just unimpressed, he's annoyed. I realize that rushing this will only make it worse. I need to show real results if I want to survive this world's social ladder. The first step of my plan brings me to the local pub, the heart of the village's social circle. I've drawn up a contract. I'm offering to be the builder for a project the owner desperately needs. I propose writing off all the property damage I caused in the past against the construction fees. It's a win-win on paper. But the pub owner isn't having it. He looks at me with pure suspicion, and the system confirms it. He's using a skill called Stone Wall Heart. His lack of trust is literally a defensive barrier against my words. If I can't win him over with a fair deal, I have to pivot. My big plan can't fail before it even starts. I decide to lean into the hooligan reputation the original Lloyd worked so hard to build. I put on my best threatening face, making him think I'll cause even more trouble if he doesn't sign. The system calls me absolute garbage, but it works.
I've got my first order. It's not the most noble start, but in this world,
Results are the only thing that matter. Javier watches from the sidelines, his silence speaking volumes about how much he despises my methods. I head to the construction site to begin the measurements. It's time to put my engineering knowledge to the test. Javier confronts me immediately, asking if I'm just coming up with new ways to cause misery. He's convinced I'm running a scam. He doesn't believe a man like Lloyd is capable of honest work. I stop and look at him. It's time for a little lesson in psychology. I ask him if he's ever heard of cognitive distortion. He looks confused, but I have his attention. I explain that it's when prejudice and negative thinking cling to the brain, making you believe someone will always fail because of their past. He counters that it isn't prejudice, it's experience and statistics. He's a rational man, which makes him dangerous. I simply ask if statistics from the past should dictate the future. I can see the gears turning in his head. He's stunned by my logic. He probably didn't think the town drunk knew words with more than 2 syllables. I tell him I'm going to make the pub owner smile. I'm going to prove everyone wrong. Then I start the grueling physical labor. I haven't worked a day in this body, and it shows. But those smiles will be more than just a good deed. They will be the foundation of my survival. If I can turn a profit and a reputation at the same time, I can finally start living the life I want. I dig, scoop out the dirt, move it, pack it, and repeat. It's mindless, exhausting work. I use timber from my father's warehouse to build a traditional frame. Every joint and beam has to be perfect. The structure starts to take shape, but the physical toll is becoming unbearable. I collapse onto the ground, gasping for air. This body is pathetically weak compared to what I'm used to. Javier stands over me, noting that it's taken me a week to finish what should have been a simple task. He's still watching me like a hawk, wondering where I learned these skills and if I'm actually going to honor the contract. I struggle to get back up, my legs trembling with every movement. There's no time to rest. I pick up the axe to prep more wood, but my hands can barely grip the handle. I swing with everything I have left, which isn't much. The weight of the axe nearly pulls me over. I'm staggering, a hair's breadth away from a total breakdown. Suddenly, a firm hand grabs the axe handle, stopping my fall. Javier has finally decided to intervene. He looks as unimpressed as ever, but he's not letting me fail. The silence between us is heavy with unspoken questions. He reaches out for the tool, taking the burden off my hands. I give him the specifications: thin pieces, precise lengths. I need them exactly as I designed. He tosses a log into the air with a casual flick of his wrist. In one swift, blinding motion, he swings the blade. The wood is sliced into perfect, uniform planks before it even touches the ground. They clatter onto the dirt, exactly as I requested. It's a display of skill that borders on the supernatural. I can only stare in shock. This is the power of a master swordsman in this world. I give him a thumbs up, my awe overcoming my exhaustion for a brief moment. Truly, who needs modern equipment when you have a bodyguard who can do the work of a sawmill with a single swing? I clap him on the shoulder, deciding to push my luck while he's in a helpful mood. I suggest that since he's finished with the wood, he might as well help me finish the digging. His expression sours immediately. He realizes he's just volunteered for more manual labor. I tell him he's only helping because he's curious. He wants to see how this con ends, and the only way to see the end is to finish the work together. I've got him right where I want him. Javier grits his teeth, but he knows I'm right. His curiosity is stronger than his pride. So we dig. Side by side, we move the earth in a rhythm that would have been impossible alone. Javier works with a grim determination, his speed making up for my lack of strength. I push myself to keep up, sweat pouring off me in the midday sun. The shovel bites into the clay, layer after layer being cleared away. I feel a strange sense of momentum. For the first time, I'm actually building something real. One final slam of the shovel, and the foundation is set. Construction is finally moving into its final stages. The structure is complete. It's small, humble, but it contains a secret that will change everything. I even added my brand's logo. If I'm going to do this,
I'm going to do it with style. I invite Javier to come and see the finished product. I can tell he's still waiting for the other shoe to drop. I give him a confident look. It's time for the big reveal. He remains silent, watching me with those cold, analytical eyes. The wind howls to the bare trees as the first real chill of winter arrives. I light the fire in the external hearth, hearing the wood pop and crackle. Smoke curls from the chimney of the little house. Everything is working exactly as designed. The pub owner brings his elderly mother inside. She's been suffering in the cold, and he's desperate. She lies down on the floor, and her face instantly transforms. The warmth is radiating directly into her joints. The owner is stunned. He touches the floor and feels the intense, steady heat rising from the ground. To the people of this world, this is astounding. They've never felt anything like it. It's the power of the Andol floor. In a world of drafty stone rooms, this is pure magic. The owner is overwhelmed with gratitude. He hasn't seen his mother smile like this in years.
The pub owner and his mother are happy, just like I said they would be. Javier watches from the shadows. The change in his perception is palpable. He's questioning everything he thought he knew about Lloyd Frontera. Did I really do this just for a smile? He sees the genuine joy on their faces, and he can't call it a con anymore. For the first time, he acknowledges that those two people are truly happy right now. The system chimes. My approval rating with Javier has increased by 2 points. -29. It's a small victory, but it's a start. I've earned 36 RP for improving my relationship with a key character. This is the momentum I need. I can't help but smile to myself. My plan is working. I joke with Javier that he must think I'm not total garbage now. He maintains his stoic mask, but the ice is melting. Regardless of what he thinks, we've broken ground on a new future. This was just the pilot project. The timber was a loss, but that doesn't matter. This house is my model for a whole new business. A few days later, the line is already forming. Word of the magic floor has spread through the village. People come out of the house literally steaming, their faces flushed with comfort. I shift into salesman mode, tapping on the table to get their attention. I know they want this at home. I offer 2 styles, an annex or a full remodel. I'm already calculating the margins. The villagers are still hesitant. They want the warmth, but they're still afraid of the name Frontera. I try to keep the pressure on, offering a discount to anyone who orders today. I'm practically giving it away. But then, a shadow falls over my desk, a presence I wasn't expecting so soon. It's my father, Arcos Frontera, and he looks absolutely furious with what I've been doing. The system alerts me. My approval rating with him is at -20. This is bad. He demands to know what I think I'm doing. My business venture just hit its first real wall.
Inside the walls of the Frontera estate, a silent battle is being waged. It isn't fought with swords, but with the suffocating weight of debt that threatens to crush everything I've built. Breakfast is a quiet affair, defined by the distance between a father who has lost hope and a son he no longer recognizes. I can feel the Baron's eyes on me. To him, I'm still the spoiled, reckless Lloyd who only knows how to waste what little we have left. He's been avoiding this conversation, likely fearing what new disaster I've cooked up. But in this world, if you don't build, you break. He finally breaks the silence, demanding to know what I'm up to this time. The Baron's face is etched with the exhaustion of a man who has spent too many nights staring at ledgers that won't balance. I keep it brief, adopting the rude, dismissive tone the old Lloyd was famous for. I tell him I built an ondel room for the pub owner. He's already heard about the other orders coming in. News travels fast when the village drunk starts acting like a master engineer. His warning is stern. These people are our responsibility, and he won't tolerate me exploiting them for a quick coin. I shrug it off. It's expected. No matter what I do, everyone in this novel is programmed to think the worst of me. I've had enough of the heavy atmosphere. I excuse myself, but as I turn to leave, his voice stops me cold.
He asks if I'm doing all this because I know how bad the family situation really is. He tells me not to worry, that he'll find a way out soon. He wants me to stay out of it, to keep my hands clean while the ship sinks. I've heard those words before, in another life, from another father who was drowning in lies. In my memories as Suho, my father said the exact same thing. Just study hard, he said, while the debt collectors were already at the door. He was a liar, and I know the Baron is lying now too. He has no plan. He only has despair.
I won't let history repeat itself. Not here, and not to this family. I won't give up, because I need them to keep fighting alongside me. I wish I had been brave enough to say that back then. Now, I have a second chance to be the son that actually provides. The numbers are looking good. 32 Style A orders, 57 Style B. The construction money is starting to flow, but it's just a drop in the bucket compared to the total debt. My thoughts are interrupted by heavy footsteps. Someone is moving through the manor with the arrogance of an owner. Moneylenders, Meatloaf and Shiloh. Two vultures who have come to pick the last bit of meat off our bones. They walk right past me without so much as a glance. To them, the son of the Lord is just another piece of furniture that will soon be sold. I recognize those names. In the original story, these two were the catalysts for the Baron's ultimate downfall. They head straight for the Baron's study. It's time to see just how much damage these vultures intend to do. The slamming of a fist against wood echoes through the hall. They're losing patience, demanding payment that they know isn't there. They're threatening action. In this world, that's a polite way of saying they'll take everything, including our lives. I peer through the doorway. The Baron looks small, cornered by men who have no respect for his title or his humanity. Perfect timing. I was looking for a way to test my new standing, and these two just volunteered to be my guinea pigs. I step into the room with a grin that makes even these thugs hesitate. They have no idea that the useless son is the most dangerous person in the room. But before I deal with them, I need to figure out how to use the RP I've accumulated. A strange world requires a strange set of tools. The system confirms it. I can invest my relationship points into gaining new abilities. It's time to trade social standing for survival. A hum of energy begins to vibrate beneath my feet. The world is literal code, and I'm about to rewrite my own stats. Data streams past my eyes. Soil mechanics, hydraulics, structural engineering. The knowledge from my past life is being digitized and enhanced. It's a rush of information, advanced design programming and concrete theory flooding my mind. I'm no longer just a student. I'm becoming the architect of this kingdom. The system mocks me, surprised that I know more than I look. I have a scholarship, you piece of junk. Don't underestimate a desperate engineer. 2 skills are available based on my current knowledge: basic surveying and basic design, essential for any developer. I can't see the full details yet, but in a world without GPS or CAD software, any magical edge is worth the cost. I have 36 points. It's enough. I click and commit, feeling the points drain away as the transformation begins. The sensation is like a lightning bolt to the brain. Basic surveying locks in, and suddenly the way I see the world changes forever. I don't need tools. I can see the grid of the land itself, the elevations and coordinates burned into my retinas. I am the GPS. Then comes basic design. I can visualize structures in midair, rotating and refining blueprints with a flick of my fingers. This will make construction 10 times faster, but I'm still just one man. Even with Javier's help, we need more muscle. I find myself wishing for heavy machinery. A backhoe would solve all my problems, but summoning a tractor into a fantasy world seems like a stretch. The system chimes in again. It turns out there is a way to get a summon. My interest is piqued. A new window pops up, glowing with a promise of power. I need something that can move mountains, literally. It looks like a gacha game ad. Unique personalities, wide range of skills, a loyal partner to help me build my empire. Premium summons? This system really is a piece of work. It's preying on my need for efficiency. 50 points per turn. That's steep. I'm currently broke in both currency and relationship points. I only have 1 point left. I need to generate some serious goodwill, and I know exactly where to find it.
If I can summon a creature with the power of heavy machinery, a dragon, a behemoth, anything, I can transform this estate in weeks. I need key characters to like me, and right now, my father is being harassed by the perfect targets for a little relationship building. Back in the study, Meatloaf slams the table again. He's tired of waiting, and he's about to make an offer that will turn the Baron's stomach. The Baron looks defeated, his dignity stripped away by these lowlifes. They think they hold all the cards. Meatloaf leans in with a disgusting smirk. He suggests selling the Baroness and her ladies to a nice place to fetch a hefty sum. The Baron is horrified. Even in his darkest hour, he never imagined such a vile suggestion. It's the ultimate insult to his honor. I lean over Meatloaf's shoulder, my voice dripping with mock concern. A lender should have better manners, shouldn't he? He jumps, startled by my sudden presence. They haven't realized that the dynamic in this room has shifted entirely. He recognizes me, the peculiar eldest son. He thinks I'm just an interruption, a minor nuisance to be brushed aside. I ignore his insults. Instead, I ask for the one thing they don't have, a warrant. They're confused. Warrants are for commoners, not for men collecting from a bankrupt noble. Or so they think. I begin reciting the Royal Family and Nobility Act, Article 3, Clause 6. My knowledge of this novel's lore is finally paying off. All nobles may exercise their right to protect their interests as vassals of the king. My gaze is cold, unwavering. They sputter, claiming they've never heard of such a law. Of course they haven't. They're used to bullying people who don't know their rights. I offer to help them find out. But I won't be using a book to teach them this lesson.
I call out for Javier. The real muscle of this family is about to make his entrance. He appears instantly, his presence filling the doorway. He may hate me, but he's bound by duty to follow my lead. The silver-haired knight looks down at the lenders with a chilling indifference. He's a weapon waiting to be aimed. I give the order. Cut off this trespasser's arm. I want them to know exactly what kind of action I'm prepared to take. The room goes silent. Javier steps forward, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. The lender's bravado evaporates instantly. They threaten to sue, but I just smile. Let's see whose side the judge takes when they hear about the attempted human trafficking. Javier draws his blade. The steel sings as it leaves the scabbard, a bright, lethal flash in the dim light of the study. Panic sets in. They realize I'm not joking. In this world, a noble can kill a commoner for trespassing and walk away without a scratch. They scramble for the exit, screaming about regret and revenge. But their words are empty, drowned out by the sound of their own fear. The door slams shut behind them. For the first time in months, the Frontera Manor is free of vultures. I scoff at their retreat. Absurd how quickly they run when the odds are actually even. The Baron is staring at me, his mouth agape. He looks like he's seeing a ghost, or perhaps a son he never knew he had. He's frantic, worried that I've only made things worse. He knows we don't have the money to keep them away forever. I drop a heavy bag onto the desk. The sound of clinking coins is the most beautiful music I've heard all day. I tell him it's enough to cover this month's Mientras. It's the first real payment this family has made in years. He's suspicious, accusing me of extorting the villagers. He still can't believe that I actually worked for this money.
Javier steps in, his calm voice acting as a bridge. He tells the Baron not to fear. He promises to ensure that I fulfill the orders. If the kingdom's greatest knight vouches for me, the Baron has no choice but to listen. The tension leaves the Baron's shoulders. He trusts Javier completely, and by extension, he's starting to trust the path I'm carving out. We take our leave. The first hurdle has been cleared, but the race is far from over. As we walk through the halls, I can feel Javier's burning curiosity. He's dying to know where I learned that law. He asks how I knew about it. He always thought I was the ignorant type. I just tell him I picked it up somewhere. The truth is much darker. I know that law because in the original novel, Javier used it after the Baron and Baroness committed suicide. The loan sharks had come to dig up their bodies to sell them. It was the most horrific moment in the book. That was when Javier recited the act. He used the law not to protect his interests, but to justify his vengeance. He took their heads right there in the rain. I used his future words to prevent that future from ever happening. Knowing the story is my greatest weapon. It allows me to stay 2 steps ahead of fate. And now, for the reward, I can feel the system gears turning, calculating the impact of my actions. The notification pings. Baron Frontera's approval rating has increased. It's a small gain, but a significant one. And there it is, 60 relationship points for improving my bond with a key character. The jackpot I was waiting for. Current RP, 61. I finally have enough for a turn at the summon game. Everything is falling into place. I'm coming for you, summon. Let's see what kind of monster I can put to work for the Frontera estate. Under the silver glow of a full moon, the quiet of the night hides a secret that could either bankrupt this barony or rebuild it from the ground up. The training grounds are empty, providing the perfect stage for a desperate gamble. Survival in this strange world requires tools that don't yet exist in this era. One last look around to ensure no prying eyes are watching. If the commoners or the knights saw me now, they'd think the young master had finally lost his mind. The system interface flickers into life. 50 reputation points, a steep price for a single turn in the random summon game. There's no turning back now. I press start, feeling the weight of the estate's future resting on this digital roll of the dice. A blinding flash of emerald light erupts from my fingertips, tearing through the darkness of the night. The sound of grinding gears echoes through the air, a mechanical roar that feels entirely out of place in this medieval setting. Patterns of light spin and collide, forming the complex geometry of a summoning circle that defies every known law of magic. The sheer scale of the energy is overwhelming. I can only stare in awe as the atmosphere vibrates with raw power. The circle stabilizes, glowing with an intensity that suggests a legendary beast is about to cross over from the void. But as the light fades, the grand spectacle shrinks down to something incredibly small and annoyingly loud. A final burst of energy signals the completion of the summon, and something tumbles out onto the dusty ground. A hamster. A round, cheerful, and utterly tiny hamster greets me with a squeak that feels like a slap in the face. I can't believe it. After all that buildup, all those points, I'm left staring at a ball of fluff that looks like it belongs in a pet shop. It rolls across the dirt with a soft thud, looking perfectly content with its new surroundings. The creature springs up, practically beaming with pride. It has no idea it's just ruined my night. The silence between us is deafening. I spent my hard-earned points on a rodent that can't even scare away a cat. I can't help but scowl. This is a dud, a total waste of resources when time is the one thing I don't have. The little guy seems to take offense at my disappointment, puffing out its cheeks in a display of tiny, useless fury. It starts squeaking frantically, trying to communicate something that my human ears just aren't picking up. I turn to walk away, but the hamster isn't done yet. It's determined to prove it has more to offer than just cuteness. It begins to chew on something invisible, its cheeks expanding to an impossible size as it works away at a hidden task. With a sudden spit, it launches a wet, crumpled object toward my feet. It's disgusting, but it might be important. I carefully unfurl the damp parchment. It's a user manual for the creature, which apparently goes by the name Peepodong. The manual claims Peepodong is an adorable hamster that needs lots of love, but the real secret lies in the tiny pouch it came with. Inside the pouch are specialized sunflower seeds, red for growth, blue for shrinking back to its original state. The cost for more seeds is minimal, but the potential application is starting to click in my mind. If this creature can scale up to the size of a human, it might actually be useful for basic labor. Hamsters are natural tunnelers. If I can harness that instinct on a larger scale, I've just solved my excavation problem. I offer the red seed, and Peepodong devours it in a single greedy gulp. The transformation begins instantly. The air begins to crackle again as a second flash of light envelops the training ground, far more violent than the first. A massive force slams into me, throwing me backward as the creature expands at a terrifying rate. I hit the dirt hard, the world spinning as shadows grow long and heavy above me. When the dust settles, I scramble back in pure shock. This isn't just a bigger hamster, it's a titan. It stands over 15 feet tall, a mountain of fur and muscle that towers over the fences. No, it's even bigger than that. Over 30 feet of pure, unadulterated construction power is standing right in front of me. The creature looks down at me with a smug, cocky grin. It knows exactly how impressive it is. The system confirms it. Digging level 1. This is exactly what I needed to break ground on the new infrastructure. Pudong dives into the earth with the force of a landslide, moving dirt faster than a dozen men with shovels could dream of. Next is packing dirt level 2. The ground beneath its paws is compressed into a solid, stable foundation in seconds. It moves with a rhythmic swirl, carving out paths and leveling the terrain with mechanical precision. And then there's the cheek pockets, level 1, but the volume it can carry is already staggering. The giant rodent pauses, its cheeks bulging with tons of excavated material as it waits for my next command. With a casual shrug, it disgorges a massive pile of rocks and clay exactly where I need them. The impact shakes the ground. This isn't just a summon, it's a living, breathing piece of heavy machinery. I've hit the jackpot. With this heavy equipment at my side, the construction of the Ondol system is no longer a pipe dream. But I can't just walk around with a 30-foot hamster without raising questions. I need a cover story, and I need it fast. A summoning master. That's the lie I'll sell. People in this world accept magic far more easily than they accept engineering.
With the logistics handled, it's time to move on to the next phase. Organized labor. The estate's revival starts now. Morning breaks over the Frontera barony, bringing with it a crisp air and the promise of hard work. The valley is beautiful, but its beauty hides the poverty and debt that threaten to swallow us whole. I gather the soldiers by the river. They look confused, leaning on their tools like they've never done a day's work in their lives. I shout the first rule of any job site: safety first. It's a concept they clearly haven't heard of. They stare back at me with blank expressions. To them, I'm still just the spoiled brat of a failing lord. These 30 men are paid to guard a border that never sees combat. In my eyes, they're just underutilized employees. The Baron is drowning in debt, yet he keeps these idle hands on the payroll. I'm going to make sure every penny is earned. I tell them the truth. They are in the army, and the army exists to do work. If there's no war, there's construction. I remind them that a soldier's life is mostly digging holes and pulling weeds anyway. I'm just giving them a purpose. I point to the massive piles of clay. I tell them I spent all night digging them up myself, though the credit really belongs elsewhere. In reality, Peepadong did in 30 minutes what it would take these men weeks to accomplish. But they don't need to know that yet. This is the beginning of the estate's renaissance. We are building the future, and I need every one of them to move that clay to the site. The response is exactly what I expected, a sea of glum faces and silent resentment. They hate the idea of actual labor. I let their silence hang in the air. I knew they wouldn't follow me willingly, but I have a plan for the holdouts. A voice cuts through the tension. Master Lloyd. It's cold, authoritative, and dripping with hidden malice.
Sir Neumann, the senior knight of the barony. He carries himself with a pride that his character doesn't deserve. I turned to face him with a smirk. I knew he would be the first to challenge me. In the original novel, he was the first to betray us. This land has 3 knights: Neumann, the man before me, Bayern, who is loyal, and Javier, the true hero of the story. When the estate eventually falls into ruin in the original timeline, Javier and Bayern stay until the bitter end. But Neumann? He's the rat who sells out the Baron to conmen and flees with whatever he can carry. Looking at his arrogant face now, I realize I can't allow a traitor to remain the land's foremost knight. He asks me what I think I'm doing, his hand resting near his sword as if to intimidate me into submission. He claims he won't tolerate his honorable men being covered in dirt. It's a transparent attempt to maintain his own power over them. I call his bluff. He's not worried about honor. He's worried that if I pay off the debts, his chance to profit from our ruin disappears. He tries to shift the conversation back to my prior conduct, reminding everyone of the drunkard I used to be. He accuses me of using the men for personal gain, hoping to turn the soldiers against me before I can even begin. I lean against my shovel, looking bored. He thinks he's winning this verbal sparring match. No,
That sounds about right, I admit with a grin. Honesty is a weapon he doesn't know how to parry. I lock eyes with him, the playfulness vanishing. I tell him exactly what happens to people who stand in the way of progress. The man is fragile. I can see the veins popping in his neck. If he were a gamer, he'd be a keyboard-smashing rage quitter. It's time to stop talking and start pressing his buttons. I slam my shovel into the ground with purpose.
I swing the tool with a flourish, the motion sharp and deliberate. I'm not just a developer. I'm the one in charge here. The soldiers gasp in shock. They've never seen the young master act with such confidence or such blatant disrespect for a knight. Neumann is trembling with fury, his face turning a deep shade of red as his honor is dragged through the mud. He can't stand being looked down upon by the son of a soon-to-be-ruined baron. His ego is his greatest weakness. I stand my ground, my boots planted firmly in the dirt. I'm not the boy he remembers, and he's about to find that out the hard way. He screams at me, calling me a scoundrel and insulting my family. He's lost control, exactly as I planned. I cut my ear, pretending I can't hear his tantrum. What was that? Let's forget about ranks and fight this out? I twirl the shovel in my hand like a seasoned warrior. It's a performance, but one backed by a very real threat. I point the blade of the shovel directly at his chest. The challenge is issued, and there's no backing down. Let's do this thing, I say, my voice steady and cold. A duel, I mean. Neumann's eyes widen in disbelief. He thinks he's about to teach me a lesson, but he has no idea the world has already changed.
The challenge has been issued, but the reality of the situation is starting to set in. A duel against a seasoned knight like Sir Neumann isn't just a bold move, it's potentially a death sentence. Javier looks at me with that signature cold stare. He's not just asking if I'm confident, he's asking if I finally lost my mind. Of course I haven't lost my mind. I'm not some suicidal hero. I know exactly how outclassed I am right now. He reminds me that Neumann is a sword expert who can use the mana heart cell. In this world, that's like bringing a tank to a knife fight. And me? I'm just a guy with a loud mouth and a shovel. I can see his hand twitching toward his hilt. Javier's patience is paper thin, and honestly, I don't blame him for wanting to end this farce himself. In his eyes, I'm still the old Lloyd, the hooligan who makes life difficult for everyone just because he can. He thinks this is another reckless whim. But Javier is starting to notice the patterns. The way I separated the Baron from the conflict, the way I appointed a substitute overseer, it all looks too calculated to be a simple tantrum. Still, he sees me picking my nose and immediately loses any respect he might have been building. To him, I'm just filthy scum that needs to be kept on a short leash. It's time to change the dynamic. I need Javier to be more than a babysitter. I need him to be a weapon. I tell him there's something I need him to do. I give him my best trust me smile, which usually just makes people want to punch me harder. I ask him to teach me how to use a sword. His response is immediate and absolute. He refuses without a second thought. He claims his only job is to watch me. He doesn't see the point in training a man he despises. Then comes the insult. He believes that if human trash like me learns to fight, the people around me will be in even greater danger. He's not wrong about my reputation, but he's wrong about my future. I play it cool. I act like his refusal is just a minor setback, but I've already got the leverage I need. I lean in with a smirk. What if I told him that teaching me would be the key to curing his most painful secret?
The look on his face is priceless, total shock. He wonders how a backwoods noble like me could possibly know about his condition. I tell him it's all in the books. I know he has chronic insomnia, and more importantly, I know exactly why he can't sleep. In this world's lore, knights are ranked by their mastery. Javier is on the verge of becoming a sword master, a rank that borders on superhuman. But that power comes with a strange world rule. His senses are so sharpened, so hyper-aware, that the world is too loud and too bright for him to ever truly rest. He sighs, finally admitting defeat. The dark circles under his eyes tell the story better than any words could. He's desperate. We strike a deal. If I can make him sleep, he has to train me. No takebacks, no excuses. He smirks back, confident that I'll fail. He's tried everything from herbs to Eastern medicine, and nothing has ever worked. But he hasn't tried the ultimate weapon of the modern world. He settles into his chair, expecting another useless remedy.
I stand before him, ready to unleash a power more sleep-inducing than any magic spell or potion. I start reading my reinforced concrete textbook. The dry, technical descriptions of material components and thermal expansion coefficients are a lullaby that no fantasy hero can resist. 1 page in, and he's out like a light. Victory. While he's lost in a dream of structural engineering, I'm 1 step closer to surviving that duel. His swordsmanship is practically mine now. The next morning, the real work begins. The birds are chirping, the sun is up, and Javier is ready to make me regret my cleverness. He doesn't start with a sword. He starts with a test of endurance. 50 laps around the perimeter. He expects me to whine, to beg, to quit. I just look at him. He's waiting for the old Lloyd to start throwing a tantrum. Instead, I just turn around and start running. No complaints, no hesitation. Javier is stunned. This isn't the lazy, entitled brat he spent years guarding. The discipline I'm showing is completely foreign to him.
He watches me from the center of the field, his hand on his sword, trying to figure out what game I'm playing. As the laps pile up, I can feel his gaze boring into my back. He's looking for any sign of weakness, any reason to stop the training. I make sure to give him a little bit of the old Lloyd attitude, just to keep him on his toes. I shout about wanting to learn cool skills instead of just running. I keep the pace steady. Every step is a reminder that I have a month to become someone who doesn't get slaughtered by Neumann. I taunt him as I pass, calling out his plan. He thought I'd refuse so he could use it as an excuse to stop teaching me. I'm huffing and puffing, my body screaming in protest, but I'm not stopping. I point my finger at him, laughing through the exhaustion. I've caught him in his own trap, and we both know it. The look of sheer annoyance on his face is a bullseye for me. I'm getting under his skin, but in a way that forces him to respect my effort. I dash off for the next lap, fueled by something Javier can't possibly understand. A notification pings in my mind. My annoying brat skill just leveled up. It seems the system recognizes that my personality is a weapon all its own. My legs feel like lead, and my lungs are on fire. This body wasn't built for this kind of exertion. I'd be lying if I said this wasn't hard. It's brutal. Every fiber of my being wants to collapse into the dirt. But then I remember Korea. I remember Suho. I remember waking up in a tiny, cold room with no family and no hope. I remember the endless days carrying bricks up 4 stories and the long nights unloading trucks just to keep from starving. I held on to the hope that things would get better, telling myself to just hold on a little longer. That Suho was a survivor, and so am I. Compared to the crushing weight of that life, running a few laps in the fresh air is nothing. This isn't a struggle. It's an opportunity.
I see a light in the darkness of my memories, a voice telling me I deserve better, that my hard work will finally pay off. I reach out for that future. Just a little more effort, a little more pain, and I'll have the life I always wanted. The memory of my old self, sweating and exhausted under a construction helmet, flashes before my eyes. The despair of that life was a deep, dark pit. I refuse to ever fall back into it. I remember the moment it all felt like too much, the bricks spilling as I collapsed under the weight of a world that didn't care if I lived or died. Compared to that pain, compared to that soul-crushing despair, this training is a walk in the park. I run under the moonlight, a wide, manic grin on my face. This is nothing. I've survived worse than a lap around a castle. Javier watches me from the shadows, his expression finally shifting from annoyance to something resembling genuine intrigue. He sees my determination, the raw hunger in my eyes. He finally relents. He promises to teach me his actual sword-fighting techniques. Another notification. My approval rating with Javier has increased. It's a tiny step, but in our relationship, 1 point is a mountain. The system shows my current rating is still deep in the negatives. I've got a long way to go before he stops wanting to cut me down.
but I've earned enough reputation points for improving our relationship that it feels like a major win. Total RP 29. It's a start. I'm building a foundation, brick by brick, just like I used to. The castle stands silent under the moon. Inside, the gears of a much darker plot are beginning to turn. Sir Newman is meeting with the Baron. He plays the part of the loyal, offended protector, complaining about my disrespect to his lineage. The Baron looks tired, defeated by the constant drama. He thought I'd changed, but Newman is doing his best to convince him otherwise.
He tells Newman he can't stop the duel, but he pleads with him to be gentle. He still sees me as his heir, despite everything. The Baron hopes this duel will just be a wake-up call, a way to pull me back to my senses without causing permanent damage. Neumann bows, giving his lord the answer he wants to hear. As you wish, my lord. But as soon as he turns away, the mask slips. Duels, after all, are unpredictable things. Accidental deaths happen all the time. In his mind, Neumann is already a murderer. He plans to kill me, and if the Baron has a problem with it, he's next on the list. He'll kill the Baron and Baroness, stage it as a suicide, and walk away with his pockets full as he moves on to a bigger stage. He laughs to himself as he walks down the hall. He thinks my arrogance has handed him the perfect opportunity to seize everything. Time waits for no one. 1 month passes in a blur of sweat, concrete textbooks, and the sound of a shovel hitting the dirt. The day of the duel arrives. The crowd is murmuring, half expecting a comedy and half expecting a tragedy. The two of us stand at opposite ends of the arena. The Baron and Baroness look on with worry, while Javier stands by, silent and observant. He knows what I've been doing for the last 30 days. Neumann draws his sword, his eyes full of malice. He asks if I'm ready, expecting me to be trembling. I don't reach for a sword. I reach for the tool that has defined my new life. My shovel bites into the earth. With a sharp kick, I send a cloud of dust into the air. It's a disrespectful start to a formal duel, and I love every second of it. I swing the shovel over my shoulder with the confidence of a man who knows exactly how to use his tools. Of course I'm ready. I give him that wide, toothy grin. I'm not here to play by his rules. I'm here to knock his lights out and show this world exactly what a civil engineer can do.